So I just want to ask you, Dr. Morse, the fundamental question: what is marriage, and what is the purpose of marriage? You
Oh,
kind of mentioned that
y-
briefly, but
yes, yes. Well, I'm not going to answer you from the perspective of Catholic theology or Catholic
okay,
canon
sure,
law.
sure.
Okay. I'm going to answer you strictly from a secular sociological perspective. Okay.
That
The
would be great. Yeah,
essential,
that would be great. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The essential public purpose of marriage is to attach mothers and fathers to their children and to one another.
Mm,
That's the essential public purpose of marriage. If
mm,
we were different kinds of creatures
mm.
that didn't need long-term care as babies,
Yep.
you wouldn't need marriage. Yeah, you wouldn't need marriage. If we didn't reproduce through sex, you
Uh-huh.
wouldn't need marriage. Nobody would have ever thought of it,
Yes,
right,
right.
right, right. So the point, the essential public purpose of marriage is to attach mothers and fathers to their children and to one another for the
Mm.
good of the children and for the good of the adults, and that's what we've been kind of talking about here already. But
Yes, yes.
it's important to see that this is the public purpose of marriage, because a lot of times people will want to start talking to you about all the private reasons why they got married. And they'll
Mhm.
say, well, not every marriage has children. Well, that's
Yes, yes.
true. Oh, well,
Mm,
that's true. But every
mm.
child has parents. And
Correct,
right, every child has
correct.
parents. And if you're focused on the adults and whether they
Mm,
have kids or not, you're looking at you stood the whole thing on its head. The
mm,
point
mm,
is the children. Every child has parents. Every child has a right to a relationship with both parents,
mm,
right?
mm,
And that's what lifelong married love protects. That's the interest, that's the legitimate interest of children, that
mm.
lifelong married love protects them. And let's face it, children cannot march into court and sue somebody and say,
Of course.
I haven't seen my father. Get over here and do something about it.
Mm,
A child
yeah.
can't do that, right? So we have an institutional structure that protects children's interests in advance of anything bad happening.
Mm,
You don't wait for the thing to fall apart before somebody sues for damages. That's
mm,
crazy, you know.
mm.
And
Eh,
and I can tell you here in the U.S. there are literally millions of children who lose access to their parents because of divorce. Generally, the father, that they are unable to see the father again. There are many cases where people go on to remarry, and
mm,
the new marriage, everybody's interested in that second marriage,
mm,
and you not only lose your daddy but now when your mommy has a new boyfriend, you lose your mommy because mommy's more interested in that boyfriend than she is in you.
mm.
And her boyfriend for sure is not interested in you.
Yeah, since you mentioned that, because I was about to ask, what are the benefits of an ideally permanent marriage? Because one could say, if my spouse and I don't love each other anymore, why can't I get out of this loveless marriage
Yeah,
through a divorce? Why can't we replace them with a better one? Why
yeah,
wouldn't
yeah,
it be better to
yeah,
separate than the children seeing mommy and daddy always fighting?
yeah.
So,
Well, you know what, that is exactly what the apologists for divorce say.
mm,
They said it over here in 1968. They're peddling the same lies to you, okay? And
mm,
every single thing that you just said has been thoroughly, thoroughly
mm,
refuted by
mm,
experience. Okay,
mm, mm,
so um, second marriages are more likely to fail than first marriages. All right,
mm,
so yeah,
mm,
okay, you're going to throw away one marriage and in
mm,
the hope that it's going to be better.
mm.
Probably not. Maybe, but maybe not. Um, Secondly, children do suffer from their parents' divorce, even when there's conflict in the marriage. Okay, so it has to be really, really high level abusive conflict in the marriage
Mm,
before the kids are better off divorce with
mm,
their
mm,
parents' divorce.
mm,
What the kids want is for their parents to pull themselves together and act right. Even if you don't feel it, baby,
mm,
act it, because
mm,
kids don't really know what's going on
mm.
in the bedroom. Okay, let's be real. Kids don't really
Yes.
know all of your, and if they do, that's on you. because you
Mm,
should be protecting them from that.
mm,
We as adults, that's our job. We
mm,
should do the hard
mm,
things. As
mm.
Katie, I know you've interviewed our friend Katie Faust.
Yeah, yeah, I did.
Yeah. As Katie puts it, if there's a hard thing that needs to be done, the adults should do the hard thing, not the
Yeah,
kids. Not the
correct,
kids.
correct. Yeah,
That's not right. So
yeah.
yeah, and if you want to see just piles and piles of research papers on the impact of divorce on kids, it's out there. One negative result after another of divorce on kids. And this brings it back to the Catholic position.
Mm,
The Catholic
mm,
Church is the last entity on the planet that even goes through the motions of defending the teachings of Jesus Christ. Jesus was very clear. He was not clear. He didn't say you have to
mm.
stay with that mean, lying, cheating bastard and let him beat you up. He did not say anything like that.
Yes,
What
yes.
he said was, you don't get a second marriage. If
Mm,
you leave,
mm.
if you divorce and attempt a remarriage, that is not a marriage.
Correct.
That is adultery.
Mm,
That's his prohibition. And if you look at the impact on the kids, on the children of divorce, we now have plenty of evidence, right?
mm.
It's the second marriage that really does them in.
Yes.
It's that disloyalty built into the family, into that new family structure that's really so hard on them.
Yeah. I would like to comment on the first one you said. The second marriage is
Uh-huh.
not better because what I think is like people aren't fixing themselves anymore because traditionally in marriage, if one spouse has a problem, they're all in this together for better or worse.
Yeah.
But with divorce, you just leave the person, and sometimes what no one realized is that I learned this from Layla Miller's book Impossible Marriages Redeemed.
Yes.
When you think a cheating spouse has the behavioral problem, sometimes the innocent spouse don't know he or she too might be the reason for the divorce. And nothing gets fixed. You only go to the second marriage without anything being fixed for yourself. And maybe that's the reason why second marriages don't
Yes.
last as well.
Yes, I think that's right. That in most marriages, um, there there's blame on both sides. Let's put
Yeah.
it that way. I mean, and of course there are extreme cases. Well, I'll give you an extreme case. Okay, a friend of mine,
Mm,
I have a dear friend, um, not Catholic, Latter-day Saint, as a matter of fact,
mm.
Mormon. I don't know if you guys have Mormons over there, but they're
A little,
lovely
yeah.
people.
There are a few,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, they're lovely people, and they believe in marriage and so on. And so this woman, she has a very difficult husband who's physically abusive and mentally ill.
Mm,
And she's been trying to deal with it, figure out what to do, and she did get some support from her church. They kind of called him on the carpet and tried
mm,
to make him behave, and so on and so forth. But in her frustration, she said to me one time, she says,
mm,
um, if, if divorce doesn't solve anything, because if we get divorced, he's still out there with his mental illness. He can
mm.
go marry
Yeah.
someone else.
Yes,
I
yes.
can, yeah, oh, I can get married and I can be happy with a new spouse, but he can go marry somebody else and drive
Yes,
somebody
yes.
else crazy.
That's right. That's
Okay,
right.
how does that? Wait a
and
minute.
and
Wait a
that's my
minute.
point. Yeah, that's right. You just said my point. And
That's right.
it will open up to another set of problems and new
Exactly.
kids that will have the new set of problems.
That's
Yes.
exactly right. And plus all the complications of the of step families. And I think Jay, we really need to touch on that, because
Okay.
your country, you are not ready for
Yes.
what will happen if you allow divorce on demand. Now, what do
Mm.
they say when they say allowing divorce? What do they mean? Can you tell me just a little bit about the law that they're proposing?
At first, I thought they were just going through a fault-based system of
Uh-huh.
divorce, but I'm hearing that like they might push for no fault as well because I'm hearing a lot of like if there are irreconcilable differences between the spouses already, why not uh, uh, sever the marriage bonds? So it seems like we're going through that.
Yes, if they say if irreconcilable differences is a ground for divorce, that is in effect no fault divorce. Okay.
Mm, mm,
So you guys have to have your antenna up and your
mm,
ears perked, right? That you
mm,
don't want that. If they
mm,
start talking like that and they say, oh, no, no, only extreme cases, only hardship, blah, blah,
Mm,
blah.
mm,
No, they're lying
mm.
to you flat out. Okay, you got to put a stop to it right there.
Yep.
So what happens, I mean, there are two aspects of the no fault system. Okay, one is
Mm,
just the fact that your court system becomes corrupted by
mm,
the family courts in the United States are very corrupted by no fault divorce. And what I
mm,
mean by that is that um, they say, well, we're going to allow two people. The line that you're hearing is, if two people don't love each other anymore, the differences are irreconcilable. Why not let these two sensible adult people separate, go their
mm,
separate ways, settle it, peacefully, so on and so forth. Well, the
mm,
fact is, what happens is that one person wants divorce, the other person generally doesn't. We estimate
mm,
that probably 3/4 of divorce take place
mm.
against the will of one party.
Ooh.
In other words, one person wants to stay married. And this is what you got to think about. One person
Mm,
wants to stay married. They have no rights
ooh.
to
Mm,
keep their marriage at all. And so then the whole family ends up in court by the action of one person who wants the divorce. The
mm,
whole family ends up in family court to divide the assets of the family, to divide the child time, the parenting time.
mm,
So whether you get to see your child on Christmas Day or not is
mm,
not up to you. The court tells you who
mm,
gets to see the child on Christmas Day or any other holiday.
mm,
Courts get involved in all kinds of things, and it is awful. It is
mm,
awful. It brings out the worst in people.
mm,
And in fact, lawyers in the United States have this saying that in criminal court, you see the worst people in society on their best behavior. But
mm.
in family court, you see the best people in society on their worst behavior.
Hi, this is Jay Aruga of the Jay Aruga Show. If you like what you just saw, please consider subscribing and smash that like button. We'll need all of your help to take back the culture from this ideological colonization of the West. Thank you.